Hey, welcome to Graphic Policy Television, GPTV. I'm Brett. In my hands is Born in the USA, the story of immigration and belonging, part of the World Citizen Comics line from First Second. Now, for those who don't know World Citizen Comics, it's basically a line of graphic novels that would be social studies in graphic novel form. They're really good. They take you through all sorts of different things, American history, other parts of, social studies. And this one obviously is about citizenship. So let's see here, where we got, Firehose. So some of them. There's about elections, fault lines, Constitution, things that unite us. Some about free speech. Thing about communications and false communications. So yeah, it's a really interesting line of graphic novels. So this is about Lawrence. So this is by Lawrence Goldstone and James Otis Smith. The story follows a young girl as she goes through history to learn about citizenship and the United States and immigration, and how all those things are kind of tied together. This came out in September 2024. It's one I've kind of been holding on to do for the right time, knowing that most likely the shit was going to hit the fan. And I think this would be a good reminder of, history and laws and all that. So the graphic novel starts off with a young girl. Her father is most likely undocumented and comes home about and talking to his wife about how people at work are getting picked up by immigration. They're being asked for their papers. They don't have the right documentation or papers, whatever, and basically being snatched by ICE. Sound familiar? Yeah. As I said, I'm kind of waiting for the right time for this one. And the daughter is born in the U.S., and basically they're like, oh, she's safe because of previous Supreme Court rulings. So quickly you dive into that history, and she quickly reminds us is that even though there's precedent, it doesn't mean that precedent will stay that way forever, and that Justice Thomas has said that precedent has to be revisited, and there is a very strong movement on the right to revoke citizenship for some folks who have been naturally born here. So that's what this dives into, is the history of all that. Who was a citizen, how it changed over the years, over the centuries, why it changed, the various attacks and all that. And it's a really interesting read. Not only does it take us through history, but it really takes us through some of the motivations of that history, and basically lays it out, I think, very bluntly, very truthfully, that a lot of the attacks on citizenship and immigration all revolve on a wanting of a certain group to keep the United States white and Christian. If you're not white and not Christian, you did not belong here, or you belonged here, but were here to be abused and taken advantage of, basically be slaves. So it's a really interesting read that I think reminds us of that. The United States has actually been crap on this issue for a really, really long time. There's been improvement. Not going to lie on that one. There's definitely been improvement, but it has still a long way to go. And it's an interesting read. It's basically showing that this is all tenuous. That this is laws and precedent and court rulings that could be overturned at any point. That just because we think things should go the way they were, currently is, doesn't mean they're always going to be like that. It's also really interesting, I think, through some of the history that it dives into, stuff that I wasn't even aware of that happened. The studies of races and who is Caucasian and who's not, and how that was fought in courts, and it's a lot of fascinating history. Diving into to the Red Scares of the 50s, impacts of things like the United States opening up Japan, obviously World War II, tribal sovereignty. It's a lot of different topics, a lot of different history, kind of all rolled into I think a fairly good timeline. Like, I think it really does an excellent job of laying things out. The art is solid. I really enjoy the art. I really enjoy the art style. There's something really nice about it. I think a lot of it makes it very easy to digest. Historical figures that I know, the historical figures look like the historical figures. It's great use of just, I think, color and page layout. I think it does a really good job of keeping you engaged visually. There are, I think, some issues with the dialogue and where some things are placed, and it just kind of is a weird flow. But generally, visually, I think it does a really good job. And there's a lot of also winks and nods that I like. When President Obama is in here talking about DACA, he's in his tan suit. And for those that know the tan suit history, you know that this is a wink and a nod and kind of awesome. So he's here, we have him in a brown suit. This is more brown than the tan he wore. His was a lighter suit. But what I think was also interesting is, especially when it gets into the more modern times, of the things that are echoed in here, things we're here now, that we're hearing now, a lot of the same crap. So yeah, to me, this is a really good job of going through the history. It doesn't, I don't think it lays out, what's right, what's wrong. It really just kind of lays out the facts and does so in a really good way. You're going to go in with your thoughts one way or another. And honestly, I think this is actually a pretty straight down the line middle presentation of everything. Like, it just is facts. Whether or not they make you wince or not is fine. Is fine. If you get to the end and the one person spouting out the very clearly racist stuff, and that doesn't bother you and you agree with it, that's fine. But still, the facts are there, and I think you can read through and appreciate the facts and not come away being like, oh, this has a point of view. Like, it really doesn't. Other than the point of view that, like, things aren't settled. Like, as much as we think it's settled, and people sit there and say, this is what the Constitution says, this is what court rulings have said, like, it's not settled. It can always get changed. It can always be overturned. New laws could always get passed. So in that way, I think it's actually really, really interesting. In that, to me, it's very fair. It's very, very, very fair. So yeah, this is great. Like, if you want to go learn about the subject, this is a fantastic graphic novel to do it. Go check it out. Check out all the World Citizen comics. I think they're all really solid graphic novels. This is out in shops. You can go get it. We got a link beneath this video. Put in your zip code. I'll tell you if a comic shop's near you. No shop, no problem. We have some links where you can purchase your own. There'll be affiliate links, so you'll get a small percentage. By doing that, you'll support our site. So thank you for that. And speaking of support, I want to thank First Second for hooking us up with this review copy. And of course, thank you all for watching. If you are into graphic novels, if you're into comics, check us out every day at graphicpolicy.com. Of course, we're on Facebook, TikTok, Mastodon, Threads, Blue Sky, all at Graphic Policy, keeping it nice and consistent. And until next time, keep reading those comics and keep them geeky. Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.